138 above.
Broadcasting across Australia on Dare Media Group radio stations, this is the Sportcat Show, uncovering secret chapters, strange encounters,
and the occasional technical mishap.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sportcat Show, formerly known as the Paranormal Guys. We are live in Australia, Dare Talk Radio and Radio X Country. And a quick housekeeping note, our daily show will be back Monday, so everybody calm down. We will be back Monday. So I encourage everybody, come over and join the live chat. Chris is already over here, one of our regulars. So welcome, Chris. We're glad you're here. Come over, join the chat. We've got a great audience lineup tonight. I've got a great guest lineup tonight. I can't talk. Let me bring Jen out. Maybe she can give sentences together easily.
I don't know. Words are hard today. I don't speak much better.
You sound like your kids.
No, they speak better than me some days.
Oh, well, okay.
Or at least they yell better than me.
KG is here. Welcome, KG. Glad you're here. In case you didn't read the lineup tonight, we have I won't say it's a crazy show, but we're going to talk secret societies, and then we're going to talk hurricanes and weddings, which is a weird combination. So our first guest, he's an author, and he's a man of many talents, but he's got a I don't want to say little kids, a children's book out that was inspired by his real life children's or child. So let me bring him out. He'll probably get this right. Garrett, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very well.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, because I think I just butchered it.
I think you're right. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I do a lot of things here and there. I like old cars. I like music. I like fraternal societies. I like creepy, spooky things, just a little bit of everything. So you were pretty much on the head with that.
Okay. All right. Well, I passed. I write it.
We can all appreciate all those.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about your book, because I know it's going to lead us into other topics. So let's lead off with your book. And also remember, we're live in Australia, audio. So make sure that you tell the audience in Australia where they can get it and all that kind of stuff as you go along.
Okay.
So you actually drew the art and wrote the book. Am I correct? You and your child.
Yes. So I'll see if I can get this close. I got a bad glare. The Anteroom Kid looks like my kid. I based the character off of my son. He's 9 now, but he's been going to lodge, with us for quite some time. Obviously, you're not a member of these societies. You can't come in once the doors close to the meetings, due to you say the word secret, but we aren't secret societies. We're societies with secrets. So, we're not doing anything untoward in there, but you're not a member, and therefore you can't know what's happening.
So privileged, it sounds like, than secretive.
Very, very much so. So basically what all that stems from is, in a time before insurance, before the government could take care of you if something happened to you, you would join fraternal societies. And if you were injured, if you died, you couldn't work, any number of things that could happen, you were paying into your lodge to be a member. They would then turn around, and this is whether you were a Freemason or an Oddfellow, a Woodman of the World, basically in any of these fraternal organizations, a Knights of Pythias, whatever you want to call it. They would take care of you. They would take care of your widow. They would take care of your orphan. That was our, especially in Odd Fellowship, that's our tenets, is to, relieve the sick or relieve the distressed, educate the orphan, bury the dead, things of that nature. So the secret was more of, you had to prove that you were a member so that you could get the benefits that we offered at the time. Not really doing that anymore now that we have Social Security and all those kind of things. So anyway, back to the book. Yes, it is the Anteroom Kid. It is available from the Heart and Hand Institute, personally on their website, or it is available on Amazon. And you can just search the Anteroom Kid and it will pop up. And I would love to sell it to a lot more people. So get the word out about fraternalism.
Is that why your books your books kind of suggest that community is sort of like a treasure in and of itself? Is that where that stems from? And like, is that something, I feel like that's something that we've kind of forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if you've heard about it or seen that there's a movie on Netflix, and my mind just went blank. Well, either way, it's going to drive me crazy that I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden.
I was remembering like 3 a.m, and then I'm like, darn it.
Yeah. But it's based off a book called Bowling Alone. And it's talking about the third space, and the third space at one point in time in our society was hugely important. You had your work, you had your home life, but you had a third space that you went to and you did things that were not what you did in your normal day life. It gave you a place to belong. It gave you access to people that you didn't normally deal with. It's still there. It's just not as popular. It kind of, has died off over the years for whatever reasons. It's still, Join or Die. That's the name of it. Somebody just said it in the chat. So that's, thank you. But that is 100%, I think, something that's still vastly important in our society that has kind of gone away. And I think people are leaning back towards that now. They want that third space. They want to belong to something that they wouldn't normally belong to. And, there's some of us that are just trying to keep it alive long enough for that to happen. And there's other areas where it's thriving and you can't seem to slow it down. So we're all fighting our fight and trying to keep it going.
Nice.
Good. One of the comments says, "I'm an Oddfellows. Garrett's book, The Anteroom Kid, is wonderful. Thank you." I don't know if, so you got a fan there.
Yeah. That's Ainsley. It's Vintage Karma, so that's Ainsley. Yeah. Ainsley's been very important in helping me get this book done and kind of encouraging me to do so. So.
Yeah, I know. It can be terrifying to, write something that you feel so deeply about and then put it out into the world, and you almost feel very vulnerable. I used to think that people are going to psychoanalyze me based on my books, and now, I feel once you get a book out there, and then you realize that people don't do that. They just enjoy the story.
Yeah.
They're more likely to analyze that missing comma.
Right, exactly. And that was, when I did this, I have always realized that I was never going to be smart enough or have enough to say to write a big adult book, whether it be factual or, just literary fiction, what have you. But I sat there one day and I said, you know what I have never seen is a kid's book about fraternalism that could possibly have people who love fraternalism like I do, and many other people do, that they could kind of read it to their kids or their nieces and nephews or, grandchildren, what have you, and try and expose them to that life beforehand. And as you guys saw in the proof copy that I sent, there's nothing, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what it's like to be a member of any of it. But I think I just tried to show maybe what my, at the time, 8-year-old did while we were in lodge meetings. Because there are times I hear him out there with some of the other kids making a big old kerfluffle, and I'm just like, what are they doing out there? So
they're having their own meeting out there.
They are having their own meeting. Yes.
The meetings of the kids. Yes.
Yeah. I'm afraid of what their initiations would be, but
oh gosh, no adults allowed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is there any electronics allowed in the in either the kids' room or in the lodge or the?
Yeah. So yeah, my kid, he'll sometimes take his, he's got a phone. It's not connected to anything, but he's got games on it, and he'll take it up there. If there's no other kids there that night, he'll sit there and play on that, or that sort of thing. But usually in a lodge meeting, there's not any electronics going unless it's just a really slow night. Somebody may pull their phone out and kind of start looking at it, and that's when you're like, well, I guess maybe we need to wrap this up. So.
I also have a 9-year-old, and yeah, electronics and distraction are very important.
Sometimes. Oh yeah. They all have ADD now.
Yeah.
Well, in me thinking about the electronics, I think that is also what kind of pulled us apart. Well, that and COVID didn't help, but as a society, because used to you had to lick a stamp, put it in the mailbox, and it would go to California, and then they'd read it and answer and come. Now I can send that message and you get it in 10 seconds. So I think that's kind of what's pulled us apart.
Well, and that's a disconnect with fraternal organizations as a whole too, because we still do things like that. Everything is very analog. We don't do a lot of electronic things. During COVID, the Oddfellows allowed you to have Zoom meetings just to keep lodges going. But I don't know of a ton that still do it. I'm sure there are. But when we send our reports into our grand lodges, it's still, handwritten, stamped, mailed in. Everything is mailed communication. And that can sometimes be frustrating. You're signing up or filling out an application to join. That's all analog. We don't have a website that you go to and sign up and it sends it to where it needs to go. And you gotta want it, and you gotta search for it, and you gotta try.
Mm-hmm. I think it's ironic how, technology that was meant to bring us together has created I call them island communities. We each live in our own little houses and our own little families, and we're separated from, we don't, half the time, you don't even know your neighbor. And so I call them island communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good way of looking at it. I never thought of it that way. Interesting. Now, I know there's not supposed to be any politics or religion in there, and your book kept it completely. It was great. When you're reading the book, you could almost picture, like he had it in his mind projected upon the doors or on the wall, the scene that he was living out. And he's like, okay, they got the secret map out now.
Yeah. So it's very, it's not a political affiliation. It's not a religious affiliation. Some of our degree work, is based off of religious themes. But when you go back historically, and especially in Odd Fellowship, when a majority of the population was illiterate, the stories they knew were biblical. So a lot of the teachings that they do in some of the degree work and in all fraternal orders that I'm a part of are based on biblical themes. Not because it's pushing an ideology, but it's just that's what people knew at the time. It was easier to teach them visually and with stories that they already knew than it was to try and get them to learn to read and learn something completely new. So it was kind of the path of least resistance at the time.
I love how you portray like the kids, just their imagination and how precious it is. Because, you know, their young minds, this is how they try to understand the world, is through imagination. And some of it's crazy. And, you know, I mean, how much of it is, you're surprised when you hear something that is true. You know, it's like, wow, how did you imagine that? And then other times you're like, I wish that was true.
Yeah, you know, I wish everything in that book was true, because it would make our standard lodge meetings way more exciting than they actually are. You know, we all have a saying in fraternalism that nobody joins for a stated meeting. You know, do you like to pay bills and talk about what we're going to spend money on? Then you're going to love it. But there's a lot more to the fraternal aspect than just the stated meetings that we go to, and that he has to try and entertain himself while we're in there doing that stuff. So
one thing I noticed, that in his imagination, it never went outside the building. And I am sure that you do things with, I'm just going to throw something out there, children's hospitals or something. Is there any possibility in the future you're going to open up his vision a little bit more as he gets older?
Oh, you know, I have no idea. I have had people kind of ask me if I would, or, you know, if I thought about doing a sequel to the book. And the farthest I've gone with that is the fact that I feel like I missed an opportunity with the book being called The Anteroom Kid, and there not being any sort of like Western scene in it, which I feel like that kind of lent itself to, you know, the Anteroom Kid. He's a bandit or something like that. And I just it didn't even click when I was doing it. So I haven't thought about reaching outside of that at this point. I guess it depends on if this book ends up being, you know, vastly successful, which I hope it is.
Well, I know it's a marathon, it's not a race. And, you know, so it takes time, you know, but as long as you're out there telling the world about it, then you're doing the right thing. So
yeah.
keep that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the whole point of the book, was just try and take a different approach to promoting fraternalism and promoting something that I have found to be vastly important in my life. You know, it in itself has kind of changed my life. So there was a time I never would have done something like this. I wouldn't have gotten on a podcast and talked about anything, because I don't like to talk. I'm normally fairly quiet. So just, you know, being around people that you don't normally, not that you don't normally get around, but I have friends now that would not normally have been in my friend group. All age ranges, all demographics, that would not, you know, not for lack of want, but just they're not your friend group. So you don't come across them. And now we're all put in a room together, and we all get along, and it's fantastic.
I know when I graduated from high school, which was many years ago, yeah, Glenn's rolling his eyes. There was a saying that our valedictorian read was, if you do what you did, you'll get what you got. So unless you put yourself out there and you change it up, then it's going to be the same old. So it sounds like you did that.
Yeah. I have had lots of help along the way, lots of encouragement along the way. Because there's been many times I've thought about, you know, I don't know if this is for me, especially when I first joined. I was like, whoa, I don't, you know, you pull up in the parking lot and you're like, I don't think I'm going to go in and meet these weird people that I don't know, but I'm glad I did. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what did you have family in before joining, or was it friends, or? And then I guess I'm going to follow this up with a supplemental question. You keep talking about degrees, and we hear that all the time with organizations. And I picture and it's probably different, but like black belt or something where you get like a different level of training.
Mm.
I mean, I'm just trying to, in my adolescent mind.
Okay. So I'm stuck on the degree thing. What was the first part of the question?
Oh, I was talking about, did you have any friends?
Family and friends. So at the time, no, I did not. There was I kind of learned about things the way a lot of people learn about them. I can't speak for y'all, but me growing up, you always heard about the Freemasons, and but you had to be invited to be a Freemason. Not necessarily true. But because I didn't know any, I just kind of was like, okay, well, that's never going to happen. And, like a lot of people, I watched shows like Oddities and American Pickers, among all those things. And Oddfellows always came up. And it was a name that just kind of always stuck with me because I'm a little odd. It sounded fun. It didn't sound stuffy. It sounded like, okay, well, you're different. Come be a part of that. And through the car community that I'm a part of in Dallas, I met a guy who was a member of the Oddfellows. And so I started kind of asking him questions about it, and he kind of led me the right direction. I ended up joining a lodge in Plano, which is a suburb north of Dallas, when I lived there. Excuse me. And then, my wife wanted to move home, which was to southern Oklahoma. And so we came back here, and I missed it so much. I made the call to start a lodge here. So there was a lodge that had been here. It started in 1895, before Oklahoma was even a state. And it demised. It kind of, it went away in the early 2000s. And I got with the correct people and got enough people that wanted to do it. And we brought the lodge back. And so now we're grassroots in it and trying to get some traction in the community and make a difference.
That's fascinating.
And then as far as degrees are concerned, every fraternal organization that I'm a member of, you have an initiatic experience. I think it's meant to give everybody the same feeling, like we all went through the same thing. So you go through an initiation, and then all the degrees on top of those initiations, they're kind of like dramatic plays that take place that are just supposed to teach you lessons and show you how you're supposed to act or what the organization is about. So, and then by the time, you get your full membership, you're allowed to have the things, the things that they used to offer, the mutual benefits and all that kind of thing that came along with it.
Sounds like, kind of community. It just sounds like you just need to earn, obviously you've got to start somewhere. And I like that you start at the same. It's like, for lack of a other comparison, it's like starting minimum wage at a job. And then you work a while and you advance, and then, get more responsibilities, your pay increases, and, that kind of thing. That's what I do.
That's exactly what it is. The further you go, the more you were supposed to learn, the more the ideals of that organization were supposed to be put upon you, and the more responsibility you were supposed to take from that. And then, like I said, if something ever happened to you, then you could get the benefits of that organization.
And this dates back to the 1800s, isn't it?
So the Oddfellows started, nobody's really 100% sure the exact date, but 1700s in Europe. But it started in 1819 in America, in Baltimore, is where it began here. A Englishman named Thomas Wildey, who was obviously from England, was sitting here and wanted to missed Odd Fellowship, wanted to get together with Odd Fellows, and he put a post in the paper, and they ended up getting 5 or 6 guys together, and they started the first lodge in Baltimore. And I think I looked it up earlier. From 1819 to like 1861, I think is when he died. They'd gone from 5 members in America to over 200,000 members in America.
Oh gosh.
And at one point, Odd Fellowship was the most popular fraternal organization in the United States, surpassing Masonry because it was a little bit more blue collar.
Oh.
So
Is there any competition between like the Masons and the Odd Fellows, or
I'm sure there's always a little bit of competition, but I can say at least, in my lodge, most of us are both. Other than, we have quite a few women in our lodge, my wife, a couple of the other guys' wife. But when I came to Durant, we didn't have Odd Fellowship, and I missed the fraternal aspect of it. So I joined the Masonic Lodge. So that's how I got most of my connections in the community here, was by joining the Masonic Lodge. And then, when I was like, the Masonic Lodge is this, it's great. I like it. I still miss Odd Fellowship. I want to start that up. And they supported me in that. And enough of them were willing to join and start that with me. So, and then I was like, on top of that, your wives can join and be a part of something with you, because in Masonry, they can't. So bring them on. Let's change the community the way we can.
So it sounds like it's more about the people than it is about the actual society.
Yeah. So the way, and I could be speaking out of turn for some people, but I have always looked at the two organizations in this way. To me, Freemasonry is about improving yourself, and Odd Fellowship is about improving yourself by improving your community. So at a time, like I said earlier, when people were illiterate, Freemasons were usually well-learned people. Mm-hmm. They could read, they had libraries, they went to school. So they could, help the community, but they were more focused on improving themselves through what they could learn. And Odd Fellowship was more of a blue collar society, your coach spring makers, wagon wheel makers, your butcher, people like that. And they wanted to be able to help their communities. It was far more community centric. They wanted to get together. They wanted to be able to help those in need that they knew around them, their friends. They wanted to be able to assist them when times got tough. And so they're both great organizations. It's just which one kind of suits you better. And I really like trying to get out in the community and helping the community and trying to push it forward. What is it they say? A rising tide raises all ships. I want everybody to gain from what we can try and do.
That's very admirable. I like that.
And when you do things in the community, do you publicly do them, or do you try and do things behind the scenes and kind of remain anonymous?
We are very much trying to be out in the public. We want our name out there. We want people to know who we are and what we do. We don't want, you don't want people to go, oh, that's the secret society guys. They're doing all these terrible things in that lodge room, because we're not. We want you to meet us. Come out and see what we're doing. Come out and join us. Let's make this thing great. So yeah, we always try, if we're out doing something, and Is it shameless self-promotion? I mean, maybe. But I don't look at it as we're promoting it to try and make ourselves feel better. I look at it as we're promoting it to try and show the community what we can do and what we want to do, and hope that other people look at that and go, man, I would love to be involved with that as well. How do I help? How do I join? Because even if you don't join, even if you come to our events and help us do it, manpower is manpower.
True. One of the comments here, Brooklyn Mystic Cat 3040, can an Eastern Star be an odd fella too? Well, that's one I've never heard of.
Absolutely. So the Order of Eastern Star is the female side of Freemasonry.
Okay.
It's basically like the Oddfellows, Rebecca's, but in Freemasonry they are still completely separate. The female side and the male side. In Odd Fellowship, like I said, at one point, they changed the rules where women could join an Oddfellows Lodge. So yes, anybody can join an Oddfellows Lodge as long as you're 16 years of age or older, and you pass our investigation committees and all that kind of stuff, and you don't have any horrific things you've done in your past, then we're probably going to look at you and go, yeah, we'd love to have you.
I love how your son kind of views it like it's a big mystery and kind of tries to come up with ideas about what's happening, behind closed doors, and try to understand it. And I think there was something said about like maybe it's just pirate activity.
That's what closed doors do, right? You don't know what's behind the closed doors. So you can either look at it like I would like to look at it, with a childlike mind of what great, awesome things are they doing back there, or you can look at it with a skeptical mind and go, what sinister, nefarious things are they doing back there? I can assure you there's nothing sinister or nefarious about me or the people that I'm in launch with. But there are those that are going to think that regardless. But I like to, and was kind of the idea behind the book is there's nothing bad going on. My kid's sitting out there. Honestly, he could probably hear what's really going on and was like, "Wow, that's boring. I wish they were, swashbuckling on a pirate ship, or, making magical potions, or trying to get to the moon, or all the things that would be really cool if we could do."
Yeah. Well,
I'd much rather be on a pirate ship.
Oh yeah, that would be so fun. I kind of get this idea that, I've always had this theory that grownups, when we don't understand something, we become suspicious of it instead of, whereas kids become curious and they try to understand that. But at some point, that curiosity is kind of, do you think we outgrow it, or do you think society trains it out of us?
I think probably society trains it out of you. You learn to fear what's not familiar to you. We at some point stop looking at everything with an open mind and an open heart, and start looking at it with, how can this affect me? How can this hurt me? What is this going to do to me? And that's the joy of being a child, right?
Yes.
You don't have those ideas set on you yet. The world hasn't smushed you down and said things are bad. You're just looking at it going, man, everything's great right now. Like, I'd love to go back to being 9.
Yeah. Wouldn't have to pay bills.
Yeah, no bills. I've always said I didn't want to grow up. I was a Toys R Us kid. Then they went out of business, but I hear they're coming back. So you never know. I got a chance.
Well, you're in other lodges like you were talking about. Plus, you've got to have a full-time job and wife and child. How the heck do you balance all this stuff?
It's fraternalism is, my Masonic Lodge meets twice a month. My, I'm sorry, I'm reading a chat. Apparently I sound like a NASCAR driver. I've always been told I sound like Squidward because I'm very monotone. But my Masonic Lodge meets twice a month. My Oddfellows Lodge meets twice a month. So I've got basically 4 days a month that I'm required to go somewhere. So it's not that big of a deal. We do, with my Oddfellows Lodge, we do one stated meeting a month, and we do one just out and about meeting. So we don't do it at the lodge. We go have dinner, or we go bowling, or we try and just go be present out in the community and have fun. Because again, nobody signs up to go to a lodge meeting. We are all there for different reasons than that. The initiatory aspect pulls you in, it keeps you there, but then we got to do something to make you want to continue to come back after that. So that's what I try and do with the Oddfellows. I try and keep it lighthearted and fun, that one meeting a month. But like I said, the son, he comes. My wife's a member of our Oddfellows Lodge. She's our Noble Grand right now, which is the leader of our lodge. So we kind of, we've turned it into a family thing. So that helps a little bit with that one. My Masonic Lodge nights, that's their night. They go do whatever they want. My son will go to his grandma's. My wife will have that, that quiet time at home that night. And so it kind of works out well for all of us. And I go do something where I'm not around them. And so, it balances out in that regard, because we all want to be a part of it. And we're all happy with the time we have away from each other as well when we do that. So I think that's how we do it. Just, you gotta determine what's important to you and make it happen.
Balance it. That's what you're doing. Chris says I'm a huge Squidward fan, but I don't hear that. You were too interested and too passionate to be Squidward. Well, so you're doing him. Sorry.
Maybe it's because I'm not at work. If I was at work, I'd be more.
Yeah, there's always that radio voice. So
yeah. I'm trying to sound exciting so people are engaged.
Well, that's what we want, because we want to sell your book, obviously, but we also want to I want to say sell the Oddfellows, but promote it, because like you were saying, they're all over, and there's got to be a branch down in Australia. Australia's huge. Sorry, Australia. There's going to be a couple branches down there.
I'm sure there are in Australia. I know they're big in Canada. They're huge in the Philippines. The Philippines have grabbed Odd Fellowship and ran with it. It's making a comeback in a lot of the states. Like I said, people are looking for that third space, and we have that to offer. And if you're interested in joining the Oddfellows, and reach out to me. Reach out to it's odd-fellows.org. That you can go there, and it will tell you any lodge that's near you. Reach out to them. It's good for the soul, I think. Especially when keeps you from just going home and sitting there and not doing anything. Who cares what's on TV right now when you can be around a group of like-minded people that want to better their communities.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
So you said go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know I told you, and I might have already mentioned it, but my grandfather was a member in, he didn't drink, he didn't gamble. I mean, he was pretty straight. He had a government job, and the lodge was literally like 5 houses down on the right. Mm. And it's not there anymore. The building is still there, but it's not there anymore. So I kind of did a little research, and they've grown to they're bigger, but they're in different parts of Virginia. Mm. So I always wondered, once I found out he was a part of this, because like you were saying, like a kid, I went back at that time and I was like, oh, did he do this? Did he that? So yeah. Your book is really very helpful for me there. And last thing, and I got to let Jen get her question in. link that you always see. Well, not the chain.
The 3 links.
3 links. Yeah, I'd say link, and somebody listening might
that one right there.
www. Yeah, explain that to our listeners.
So the 3 links are the 3 basic, ideals of Odd Fellowship. You'll see them just as the 3 links. Sometimes you'll see them with the letters FL and T inside of them. FL and T stands for friendship, love, and truth. And they are basically the 3 things that we consider the most important into helping you and helping your community. Your friendship. And I listened to a podcast this morning called the 3 Links Oddcast. And they, there was a brother on there from Wisconsin talking about the FLT, and he put it in a way that I hadn't heard it explained before. And that's that, the friendship is the local lodge, you and the people in your lodge. The love is what you're putting out into the community, what you're trying to show the community that you can do. And the truth is our secrets, what is our truth. And the only way to get those 3 links is to join the organization. So you can see the friendship that we have, you can see the love that we're putting out there, but the only way you're going to get that 3rd link is to join and learn the truth.
Interesting. I know there's one here close in Knoxville where Mom is. I looked the one up, but it's all the way down in downtown Atlanta. Nobody wants to go to downtown Atlanta. So go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so you did the illustrations as well as the writing?
Yes.
Which came first for you, the visuals or the story?
I think I'm a very visual person. I am not a writer by trade at all. I'm definitely more, I'm not going to call myself an artist because artists usually make more money than I do selling art, but I thoroughly enjoy creating art in different medias. And so visually speaking, I think it was the idea of me visualizing my son sitting out there and doing this. And that's kind of where the idea came from. It's just like, man, as he's sitting outside daydreaming what we're doing inside, I'm sitting inside daydreaming about what he's doing outside. And so I was like, I think it would be great to just put this story together, involving kind of that vision that I had. And it literally started with, the cover was the first thing I drew. So, him just sitting on a bench in the anteroom. For those that don't know, the anteroom is usually the room that's attached to the actual lodge room, where you wait outside to come in and learn the truth.
Was there a free exchange of ideas, or did you sit down with a pen and paper? Okay, what did you imagine today?
It was mostly just out of my head. I kind of let him guide me on some of the things. But a lot of it was kind of just, I wanted to surprise him with it as well, being that it was a book about him. So it was kind of one of those things, I worked on it. I kind of talked to him. I kind of ran some things by him. And then, once the copy came in, I sat down and I showed him. I was like, here's a book about you. And he's like, oh, wow, it's about me. And I was like, yeah, don't you think it kind of looks like you? He was like, yeah, it does. I was like, well, I don't want it to look exactly like you because it's a cartoon character, but it was kind of a surprise to him, and just kind of an ode to him. So, and some of the things that I'd wish I had as a child. So.
And he'll have that forever. So, Chris, I believe that probably answered your question. Chris's question was, I do have a writing question. I have learned the term pantser from Jen in the show. Do you consider your writing style that of a pantser? If you don't know what that is, Jen will have to explain it.
Yeah, well, please explain it to me because I don't know that one.
So it's a term that's coined, like, do you plot out your books or do you write from the seat of your pants? Ergo, pantser.
Yeah, I'm a pantser then. Yeah, it was 100% just kind of just went with it and wrote the story, illustrated a few pages, reached out to the Heart and Hand Institute because they do fraternal books, and I was like, well, if anybody's gonna pick up my weird idea about a fraternal children's book, it will be them. And like I said, they were very supportive. They kind of led me through it. There was changes and things that happened, and then it was from there, it was illustrate and try and make it look right. So but yeah, the story came to, as an artist, the story came together faster than the drawings did. So I had the story and then I just had to draw it.
Yes. Yeah. What was your visual, like the influence for your visual style?
I love mid-century art, mid-century children's books, anything like that. So I wanted the book to feel very like mid-50s, early 60s. You come to one of our lodge meetings, we are not in suits. We're not wearing fedoras. We're not in, that kind of thing. We're in our everyday clothes. Expected? It's some lodges it is.
You have a funny hat?
There are a couple of fezzes, but that's a different group. But I wanted to have that feel because I think a lot of people, that's kind of what they associate fraternal organizations with is men in suits, and it has a romantic feeling to it, to me, in that regard. It feels grown up when they're in their suits. It feels grown up when they're put together. I am none of those things. I'm not grown up. I'm not put together. I'm 43, but that doesn't mean I have to be those things. So I wanted it to kind of harken back to the Leave It to Beaver age, and things were wholesome and clean and fun, and we didn't have to worry about all the stuff that we worry about on a day in, day out basis now. So that was my ideas behind it and why I went that direction.
How long did it take you from start to finish to put it together? And at some point, did you look at it and go, this is done. This is exactly what I wanted?
It was a few months, but working back and forth with the designs and, drawing them and then, digitizing them and all that kind of thing. And then, I think I rewrote the story about 3 times, changed names here and there, changed certain things that were happening in the book. I changed that. Now I got to change this picture. So scrap that photo, redraw this. And then it almost became, I don't know if it's done, but I'm done. If I keep looking at this, I will keep messing with it. And I always heard a story, don't know if it's true, about an artist that had his art on a museum wall and, was on a tour with it. And when they came back, or they lost him in the tour or something, when they came back, they found him, he'd pulled his own painting off the wall and was working on it because he didn't feel that it was finished. And that's kind of how I always feel with all my art, is it has to be finished for me, because if I keep looking at it, I'm going to keep finding things wrong with it that I don't like, that I need to change, that I need to do this. So it was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to look at it anymore. I'm going to send it in. And if they say looks great, then I'm going to go, looks great.
It's like those multiple choice questions. It's like, oh, do I circle C? Maybe it's A. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just draw a house on the Scantron now.
Yes, I'm completely lost. Let's draw some shapes.
Go ahead, Jen. Go ahead. I know you.
I was going to say, Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think fatherhood has taught you about storytelling?
Oh man, to just go with it. I mean, nothing. That kid will come out of his room and say stuff to me, and I'm just like, how many times did we drop you on your head? Like, what are you talking about? And I don't know, like that was kind of the thing with the book is it's a little outlandish with some of the ideas that are in there, but at the same time, like that's a kid's imagination, right? Like I don't know what they're thinking of. God, who knows what they're thinking of? So let me think of some really like bizarre things and kind of go with it. But I think what being a dad taught me is just trust my instinct in that regard and just kind of go for it. He's going to come out and act like a fool, and I'm going to love him anyway. So I'm going to come out and act like a fool and write a story, and man, I hope people love me for it or love the book for it.
I love how you can see the world through kids' perspectives. I'm going to give an anecdotal story here, but I have two boys. And when my oldest was 7 and my younger one was 5, I was telling my older one, "You're growing up too fast. You need to stop growing so fast." And he says, "Well, you can stop feeding me and I'll grow backwards," which is cute for a 7-year-old to say, "Haha, that's funny." Here's my 5-year-old in the corner here saying, "No, then you'll just die hungry." So it gives you an idea of their personalities and how they see the world. And, my older one apparently is very idealistic and my younger one is very logical. And so
Mhm.
I just love that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, and man, that's the thing with kids, right? Is it just depends on which one you get.
The
I
gamut.
have yeah, I have one, and he's very idealistic and whimsical, and everything's a joke and everything's funny, but I've got friends whose kids are you're just like, okay, well, that's the other lane over there, but that's great, and they all work together
Mhm.
and especially like you said, you have 2 and they're opposites, right?
Mhm,
So,
yes.
I got one and I was like, this is what's gonna work for me. I don't need another one because it's gonna be terrible if I have another. It's gonna be me. It's gonna be narcissistic and everything's
Yeah,
terrible.
they do tend to be the polar opposite. Because so I've got one that's a crier, one that's a screamer, one that's,
Yeah.
super creative, one that's really logical and math minded. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so mine, he takes after me. What he loves to draw. Like drawing is his favorite. He loves to draw. But he is the class clown. He wants to get out there and just make everybody laugh. And that's not necessarily me. It can be, if I've had a drink or two, like I'll want to make people laugh at that point. But normally I'm fairly subdued, fairly quiet, and kind of to myself. And that is not him at all. He will dance in the parking lot as we're walking into the store. Or, he doesn't care who's looking. And something I try and do, try and bring that into my life a little bit. And so, yeah, when I came up with the story, that's what I wanted to do was kind of look at it through his eyes and just like, because not only would he wouldn't be sitting on the bench outside, he'd be dancing around that room,
Of course.
taking stuff off the walls and jumping on the couch and whatever he could do. But
There's
I
no
don't
couch sitting.
yeah, no couch sitting, just jumping. Um, but yeah, I just wanted it to be fun and lighthearted, and so that's where I went with it.
Garrett, we can only keep you an hour. And it's went by really quick, but I know you've got some spooky stories, or maybe you've seen a Bigfoot or something. What have you got for us?
Uh, so I can tell you, I don't really have anything. But my wife is very sensitive to that kind of thing, and I asked if I could use her stories because I would have been really boring in this regard otherwise. But she's all the time, weird feelings, or I've seen down here in Oklahoma, in southern Oklahoma, Bigfoot's called red eye. She swears she's seen a red eye. She swears she's seen, and I don't know the actual name for them, but they call them the little people. It's like a Choctaw Indian tale. She talks all the time about a gentleman at our lodge that is a ghost. And I'm like, I have been in that lodge for hours on end by myself and never had any experiences, nothing. And she's like, well, he's an older man. He comes in, he wears overalls and a fedora and a collared shirt. And she's like, I see him walk by all the time. And I was like, well, you're crazy, because that's not happening. That's not in the lodge. I don't want to know that, because then I won't go there by myself. But she's like, he doesn't want me here. And I was like, well, maybe you should leave. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, she's very sensitive to that kind of thing and deals with it a lot. And that's, I don't know if I'm oblivious or what, or I just don't pay attention, but I'm just like, I don't get it. But
I think we can tune it out if we choose to, or once you notice something, then everything starts being noticed.
And maybe that's what maybe I don't want to notice it. So I'm just like, no, put my blinders on. And
yeah,
but yeah, she's very sensitive to it and all about it.
A couple of quick comments here, talking about the children. Says, a second that my son takes after me the most and has taken interest in Freemasonry lately. My daughter's a cheerleader, total opposite of me. That's Brooke. And she says that she is also sensitive to spirits too. So
yeah,
Brooke, message me. We'll get you on the show. So we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk secret societies. We didn't give up any secrets. Dang it. we were gonna twist your arm, but it's more fun this way.
The secrets come and find them out. Then we'll tell you all the secrets.
And that will be your next book.
There you go.
Oh yeah. So before we go, make sure get a shout out where they can get your book, especially in Australia, and anything you got to promote, anything you got coming up, or
well, like I said, it's on Heart and Hand Institute. I don't remember if that's .org or .com. I think it might be .org. It says it right here, Heart and Hand Institute. And again, available on Amazon. You can search the Anteroom Kid on Amazon. It'll pop right up, and you can buy it, and they'll ship it right to you. I think I'd just like to end with saying, you never know if something's going to change your life until you do it, whether that be fraternalism or anything else. Fraternalism changed my life. I think it can change anybody's life if you're willing to go into an open mind. If you want to follow us on social media, I'll put this up there. I don't know if that'll pick it up. You can scan that little QR code right there. Or you can go to odd-fellows.org. That's the Sovereign Grand Lodge's website, and get any information you want from them. And or you can reach out to me on Facebook. I will try and help any way I can. But that's about all I've got.
Awesome. Well,
buy the book. Buy the book.
Buy the book. Buy his book. Tell him Sportcat sent you. Yeah. I will put all that in the show notes too. It probably won't be tonight because it'll be late when we get done. Tomorrow, by the weekend, it'll be in there. So they can find it if they're listening and they're driving down the road or something. So, Garrett, I would really like to have you come back, because I think we could talk a lot more about all these secret societies and stuff, and just talk about that aside from your book. But I think we could have you doing that. So I'd love to have you back sometime. So,
all right. Well, just let me know.
All right. Have a good night, sir. And
you do the same.
Talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye. Jen, did you get all your questions in?
I did. There was actually a couple questions that I hadn't written down. So I was like, I have a question now.
There you go. Brooke, you're just message me. You're not too shy.
We're not that scary, are we?
No. Well, I might be, but but you're not. Everybody, hang tight. We've got a second guest lined up for everybody at WZQR, WRFN. Hang on for hour 2, the Deuce.
Broadcasting across Australia on Dare Media Group radio stations, this is the Sportcat Show, uncovering secret chapters, strange encounters,
and the occasional technical mishap.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hour 2 of the Sportcat Show. I hope you tuned into Hour 1. We had a great guest, so make sure to go back and tune into that. As always, we have some great guests lined up every week, but this week we had a guest pop up at the last minute and help us out, and so we're really thankful. And when I was reading through her stuff, Sandy Malone, she's got an interesting backstory that she turned into her novels. And so she's got some real world stories. Plus, since me being a paramedic, she's got a law enforcement husband. So I'm sure we can swap some more stories. Let me bring Sandy out here real quick. Hey, Sandy, welcome. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Hello there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Anytime.
Thank you for coming on such short notice. I really appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm a cop wife, which is a fundamental part of who I am.
Yep.
So, once you join the first responder family, it's a huge piece of your life. But
Yes.
my husband and I are both native Washingtonians. And so I grew up in the DC area, and I went into journalism and political journalism initially, actually. And then I switched to the dark side, public affairs and lobbying. I wanted more money. And so, but it was fun. And I was based in DC. And part of what I did was a lot of event planning, And so naturally it evolved into planning all kinds of different things. Now, one of my big clients was the government of Puerto Rico. And we, I don't know if you ever heard of Vieques Island, but it's a little island off the eastern tip of Puerto Rico that the U.S. Navy used to practice bombing. And it was the only place in the United States where land, air, and sea could come together to practice warfare. And I think all the movies from before, like 1998, that show war footage and beaches being attacked, they're all B-roll that was shot while the real U.S. military was practicing. So I was hired. I was one of the consultants for the government of Puerto Rico. And what my mission became was to kick the U.S. Navy off Vieques Island because they accidentally blew up a civilian security guard. The very long story short, it turns out the U.S. government was violating its memo of understanding with the Puerto Rican government, which said we can come practice 4 times a year. But they were renting it out to foreign nations. So, yeah, I know. Color crazy. I'm the one who found the ad on a Department of Defense website. It was like a .mil website advertising come bomb Vieques, good weather, 280 days a year. Swear to God. So it made it real easy to pitch it to the media. And so I got to spend a lot of time for about half a year going in and out of Vieques with reporters. And when the governor switched, they fire all the consultants and the other team gets hired. And when the governor switch again in 4 years, they'll hire back the other consultants. But when Puerto Rico ceased to be a client, I kept going back on vacation. And my mom fell in love with it. And then my boyfriend, who eventually became my husband, fell in love with it. He says that if he hadn't liked Vieques, I probably wouldn't have married him. And he's not necessarily wrong. But we got married down there. And I have planned a lot of events. I was not afraid to plan my wedding. Tried to hire a wedding planner, but there was no wedding planner on Vieques. We actually hired one from the Big Island, went down and met with her, and she was so completely obtuse that her idea for seating at the hotel we'd chosen was to remove the historic tamarind tree in the lobby. The hotel was Hacienda Tamarindo. They're not going to take the tree out. We're going to have to work around it. And we fired her. We ended up planning our own wedding, and a lot went wrong. Now, our guests had a great time. Everybody but my husband and I had a great time. Why not? I mean, it's a party in the Caribbean. Come drink. But there was no wedding planner to be like, get your drunk butts out of the bio bay. It's time to go to the rehearsal dinner. You know, counting heads to make sure we'd gotten everybody when we're going from A to B. When they didn't serve dessert at our wedding, you know, move straight on to cake. It's fine because if you don't let people know things are going wrong at your wedding, nobody knows. But I didn't have anybody to advocate for me. And I think the biggest kicker, it sounds really dumb, but I wasn't that picky about things. I really wasn't. You know, I was pretty wide open about flowers. I want front-held bouquets. I want all bright colors. I got an all-white bouquet. And what do? They've dropped the flowers off, and a bridesmaid walks in. She hands me my bouquet. I said, "That's not my bouquet." She said, "Now it is," and she smacked me on the butt with it. What are you going to do?
Tag.
We got to the bottom of it 2 days later when we're all leaving honeymoon, and my bridesmaids are all in the little airport with us, and I kept seeing my bridesmaids' bouquets, which, by the way, were hideous, side held. They weren't supposed to be, and had birds of paradise on them. Specifically, do not use birds of paradise. All these things are in these bridal bouquets. Why do I see so many of them? Oh my God, there were 3 weddings on the island that weekend, and the florist gave us all the same bouquets.
Just to make it, because it was easier for them.
Convenient.
So
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe, but I was bitter. And we bought a vacation home on that island within a year of getting married down there. And we kept it for years as a vacation home. It was a great getaway. And my husband says that I learned how to burn his leave like nobody's business. But on the flip side, at his last year or so there, he was acting deputy chief. And so he was the highest ranking official. We actually lived in the city. And so they would always call him, "Can you go handle a community meeting?" Or the best was like the 3 a.m. somebody got shot calls. "Can you go talk to the reporters?" Well, sure. He'd be like, "Yeah, I think that sounds like 2 comp days though." So we spent a lot of time in Vieques. It worked out well. And when he was ready to retire, and I'm going to just throw this out there because it ties into the paranormal story that I have for you later. Our house, we were shot at in our home when my husband was district commander. And it turned out that this neighborhood we'd moved into, which was a gentrifying, very up and coming neighborhood, everything in DC is like 3 nice houses and then 1 house that's still occupied by grandma and her drug dealing grandchildren.
You're
Just a fact.
absolutely right.
All right. So my husband, you can imagine, he like checked the neighborhood really carefully before we moved in. He's a cop, right? This thing was 10 blocks from his district substation. All right. We are moving into a nice neighborhood. That was great, except for we had assumed that the drug dealers in Brookland, that was not Brooklyn, Brookland, the neighborhood we'd moved into, we assumed their drug dealers were like the same drug dealers we'd had on Capitol Hill, year-round drug dealers. Turns out the drug dealers in Brookland were fair weather drug dealers. The Marshall brothers, they were the guys on the end of our street on Capitol Hill. They wore like snowsuits in the winter. It did not affect their business. But all of a sudden spring comes and we start seeing some weird things right on our corner. We're like 2 houses in from the corner. We're seeing strange things happen. And motorcycles, like kind of racing around and not such great stuff. And my husband starts paying a lot of attention. And basically it turns out, again, long story short, turns out that around the corner is a house where grandma lives with her grandchildren. And yes, they're running drugs from her home, but she doesn't mind because she used to be the neighborhood loan shark.
So it's like runs in the family.
So my husband, there was this little sort of tete-a-tete going on because they just didn't like it. The nice neighbors were thrilled to have a cop on the street. And these other folks were not very happy. And see, his take-home police cars, like for a while, he brought home a marked car just to cause trouble. But his unmarked cars, the kids called it the Batmobile because it had a light in every orifice. So it wasn't like he didn't know that's a cop car parked right there. And we could sit in our window with a neighbor and laugh because you could watch people come in to buy drugs, see the police car, and turn and take an alley. Yeah, they're out. And so, I mean, we were a little bit amused. You know, on Halloween, he set up in the intersection with all the lights going on. It was just very family. Like, we were going to be part of the neighborhood. Yeah. But it became a problem because they didn't like the fact that when he needed to do paperwork, right? He'd just sit on the street in front of their house in his police car to do paperwork. Now, as a first responder, you can imagine this conversation going down. My husband's sitting there, and crazy grandma has already come out and yelled at him. He doesn't care. Cares not a bit. He's hoping she'll do something so he can arrest her. And so he hears a call go over the radio. Basically, she called 911 to report a cop. Right. my husband was Metro Transit, which is all of Maryland, DC, and Virginia. They're the only tri-state multi-jurisdictional department in the country.
Correct.
And so she calls 911. It gets routed God knows how many places because this dispatcher is like, does anybody have a car sitting on 20th and Newton? Like, who's there? So my husband hears the call go over with his dispatcher, and he just starts laughing, and he's like, yeah, you can just, that's me. You can disregard, so we let him know we weren't gonna be scared out of the neighborhood. And not long after that, I was blown out of my work mode. I was sitting at my desk, and my husband's at work. It's 11 o'clock at night. I watch the first 3 minutes of the 11 o'clock news, and nothing has happened in the world. So I changed to first watch or third watch because that's what's on at 11, right? And I flip to it, and I'm working at my desk, and there's a window right here. We're like a 100-and-some-year-old row house, and we're on the end. And I have a window right next to me in my office, but I'm not the first room in the house, right? And I'm watching, and I hear bang, bang, bang. And I look over at the TV to see who's shooting, and they're sitting in the firehouse. I'm like,
wait,
bang, 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 bang. And dumbass, I lean over to look out the window, and I see the most frightening flash of my life because that's when they opened up with the shotguns.
Oh, God.
I heard the pistols, but I saw the shotgun. I hit the deck like nobody. I was like a cartoon. I was like under my desk, and I need a phone, right? Now, this is in the world of landlines and cell phones. And I had an office from home because I worked for a publicly traded company in Connecticut at the time, and I was the DC office. So up on that desk, there is a landline. There is an office landline and my cell phone. There's 3 phones. I can't find a phone. Can't get it. So finally, I'm just like, I reached up like a cartoon and I swept it all onto the floor. And I called 911 and it put me on hold.
Yep.
So I hear screeching tires and I'm like, I hope they left. But I've heard all this breaking glass. I mean, when they were shooting at us, I just hear breaking glass, right? And what do we have downstairs? A bay window. So I'm like, and my dog is going nuts and she weighs about 12 pounds. So, I mean, I'm hoping she won't get hurt on the broken glass I'm envisioning. And so I'm sitting on 911. I pick up my cell phone. I call my husband. Well, I'm still on hold. I tell my husband, he is on the 5th floor downtown. I'm like, they're shooting at me. He's like, where are you? I'm like, under my desk. He's like, I'm on my way. Click. Because he's got to go down the elevator. This before phones worked in elevators, okay? So he's got to get there. Now, I'm still on hold with DC. Please, somebody answer. And the creepy thing is they're recording you the whole time you're on hold. Just interesting to note. So when I had to do trial prep for this later, I had to listen to all the phone calls I made while I was on hold. Anyway, so then the phone rings. Hello, it's Cora from next door, landline. The white girl, it's you they're shooting at. They're shooting at you. Get in the stairwell. I'm like, get in the stairwell. All right, it's because it's the only room in the house that didn't have windows. Yeah. Even our bathroom had a glass skylight. She was like, staircase. Okay. So I went and sat at the top of the stairs. And eventually 911 answered. But the truth is that before 911 answered, I could already hear sirens because my husband got on the air and was like, this is Cruiser 5 or 9, whatever he was at the time. Shots fired at my residence. Everyone's 10-7, but I'm on my way. And it was at 11 o'clock and roll call was happening right at the time. And he had recently been promoted from, or I guess he was had been district commander and just been promoted and he was downtown. And those guys rushed out that door to get to me like you wouldn't believe. Apparently they got stuck in the door trying to go out 2 at a time. And then they all got out to the driveway or to the parking lot. And one of them said, oh my God, where's their new house? Because we had just moved like 3 months before this happened. Well, we were 10 blocks away, but Sergeant Wigglesworth was like, they live next to my aunt. She lived behind us. And so they went like 2 abreast down the road, like 1 lane each way, 2 abreast. I could hear the sirens coming. It was the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. You know, I used to gripe when we lived, because we lived in the middle of a bunch of hospitals. And my husband would be like, if you were the one, he was so right. Because I'm like, sirens coming. I have never been so happy in my life to hear somebody be like, Sandy, we're here. You know, are you okay? Yeah. It was terrifying. My husband took me out to the law enforcement gun range and taught me how to shoot everything in the house the next day. And I was good. But what happened is they ended up, somebody dropped a tip. They put protection on our house. It was really weird and creepy. Turned out there was actually a big gang in the neighborhood that was sort of under the radar, but they do not call them gangs in DC. DC does not have gangs. We have we have crews.
The crews.
Yes, it was the Taft Terrace crew. And I made some trouble because turns out we were the third police family in the 5th District of DC to be shot at in their homes in 3 months. And at the time, the police chief was a gentleman named Ramsey, who was also known as a freckle-faced clown. And he went on to be the chief in Philadelphia, and they had about as much success with him. I don't like him. Sorry. And he didn't care. He just didn't want bad press.
Yep.
We had an Amtrak family, a DC family, and a Metro family. All of us shot at in the 5th District in 3 months. We got so much news because it happened at 11 o'clock at night, right? So we lived very close to South Dakota Avenue, and all of the news vans were coming back from doing their 11 o'clock stand-ups, right? And you can imagine how many police cars respond when they're shooting at a cop's wife.
Yes.
So there were like 5,000 police cars. So obviously they stop. And it turns out news crews have this like rule. If you see more than 5 police cars, you have to stop and see what's happening. And so we were all over the morning news. But by 48 hours later, there were gospel choirs showing up to sing in our front yard and ask us not to leave the neighborhood. Turned out this little thug was trying to make his whatever with the gang, but he crossed his wires because when he was captured, he and his baby mama were living in a hotel gratis on the Red Cross because the house they'd been staying in had caught fire. It was during the whole thing in DC where we had this arsonist who was burning down lots of houses in Northeast DC. Mm-hmm. And he was in one of the houses or staying there. So now he's staying at the Ramada Inn. But in order to shoot at me, my house, he borrowed a car from his boyfriend. Now,
wait,
if you're gonna
what?
Yes. The baby mama was also surprised. Anyway, so if you are going to go to a police captain's house and shoot at them, and you don't know this, but his wife works in public relations and media at the time, it is best not to do so in your boyfriend's red Miata convertible that has body damage.
Could you not? They couldn't have picked a more identifiable vehicle.
My husband was just laughing because then he finds out the guy who shot at us, his name is Dominic Flowers. My husband's like, could this get more emasculated or less emasculated? This is just the whole thing, you know? So they find the gun in a flower pot at the boyfriend's house. And they find more ammo in something in the back patio. But the bullets that lodged in my next door neighbor's AC HVAC matched 13 murders in Washington, D.C.
Ooh.
So they, at first, that's why it was like, that's why I think Chief Ramsey looks so dumb in this. Because, I mean, they ended up, we brought the feds in. And they ended up arresting 87 members of the Taft Terrace crew before the investigation was over. And there were 3 guys involved in the shooting at our house. We were just like property damage, okay? They could add all kinds of charges on because he was a police officer and it was targeted, but they didn't need to because they had 13 murder charges. And we did all the trial prep and we were ready. That's when I learned, because I had to listen to all my 911 calls. And that was a little traumatic. I'm like, I hear the phone ring. I'm in my head. I'm like, that's Cora calling to tell me to get in the staircase. And anyway, the night before we were supposed to testify, we got a call. They were all pleading guilty. They got a deal for life in prison in exchange for taking the death penalty off the table. And since we didn't have a death in the family, our testimony was super important to them at sentencing, because the other 13 victims that got up there, they were family members going, I lost my baby daddy. You know, it was just sobbing, messy. Whereas I was PO'd. I was mad. I was like, okay, so that was my first house. And I had an FHA loan and I couldn't move for 2 years. Do you think I used the 8-person hot tub on my back deck after they shot at me? No. No, I did not. And I couldn't move. And this dude's shooting at me and he doesn't even stay here. You know, I'm like, I don't understand. And after they shot at us, we saw them on their motorcycles before they were arrested, kind of like looking at what was going on. Like, they're not afraid. They're going to kill somebody else. I mean, it's just the bottom line. And truth, I do not know if they're still incarcerated, because Dominic Flowers was 19 when he shot at us. And under President Trump's Fresh Start Act, he's probably out shooting people again. But I don't look it up. And my husband has said we shall not go back and visit that neighborhood ever when we're in the DC area. We had to get taken out the back after the sentencing because his family members, he has just pled guilty, right? And his family members are yelling at me, you lied, you lied. What? He said he's guilty.
He admitted it.
I only testify to the sentencing, like, victim impact statement. And you wonder why these people are so screwed up. I mean, good God. And that's the thing that raised him. Now we understand. And also that name, Dominic Flowers, dear God. Anyway, but so we moved to Puerto Rico. We testified at the sentencing on a Friday. My husband retired like middle of that week. He hadn't been shot at. He hadn't shot anybody. He had 30 years on the department. He'd been the firearms instructor and SWAT commander. And we said, forget this. And we sold the house in DC because we'd hit enough years to do it. And we never used that hot tub again. And we, it's the truth. And it's hard to invite your grandparents to dinner. Like, yeah, we use the duck and weave going into the house. Anyway, so no, I mean, it's funny, but now it's funny. It wasn't funny then. And I had cops, the sweetest cops from DC and Metro, would take turns coming to eat their dinner break with me when my husband had to work nights for the first couple of months after. These cops would take during the dinner break. They'd show up with their own dinner just to sit and hang out with me. Just because I had to be home alone all the time and it was scary. So when we moved to Puerto Rico, my husband was supposed to retire and I was opening a wedding planning company. And we thought 2 weddings a month would be perfect. And instead we had 19 weddings the 1st of August. And he never got to retire. I made him a wedding planner and I turned his gun range bag into the biggest bridal emergency bag you've ever seen because it has so many pockets.
But I have to ask, was your bay window okay?
Bay window was fine. Actually, all the glass I heard breaking was angry gang members shooting out the windows of my husband's POV, his personal vehicle.
Oh.
And they didn't shoot my Jeep. I'm just saying. Like, they're pissed at you, not me. I mean, it was the kind of thing that you're like, I just lived through this. I haven't even written about this in any of my books. Like, my stories. We went down there. We had a wedding planning company, went crazy. We did more than 500 weddings. Brides and grooms, 90% of them are certifiable. My husband said working in wedding planning was 10 times harder than being a cop. Because you can't just throw the jerk on the ground and put handcuffs on him. You have to talk nicely or they will write something on wedding wire.
Who knew?
You know, I mean, it was a challenge. And then our business was so successful. We're always telling our friends these stories. And they're like, that's just crazy. This doesn't really happen. Like, dude, you can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. And so a friend that's husband was in documentary film production was like, hey, I want to come shoot a demo. I think you guys would be the funniest show in the world. He said, can you send me a list of your weddings that you've got coming up? And I said, sure, no problem at all. He said, just a couple bullet points of each wedding that you have that's interesting. Okie dokie. Because I'm booked 2 years ahead. At one point, I could proudly sit there and name the clients in order. My brain is no longer that smart. But I sent him a list and I get a phone call, like, I don't know, an hour after I send the email. And he's like, am I reading correctly that in 10 days you have a Russian bride at 5 p.m. on the north side of the island and gay military police in uniform at 6 p.m. on the south side of the island? I said, you are reading that correctly. My staff is not happy with me. And he was like, okay, I'm booking flights now. Welcome to my life. Yeah. So, okay, you know, come on. We're going to just do our thing. You guys film it. It was just a cameraman and a producer, like my friend and a cameraman. And it was an interesting experience, but everybody's always worried, will there be drama? Have they never been to a wedding? Jen, have you ever been to a wedding where there wasn't like some level of drama?
Nope.
I mean, it's
yep.
Right.
Gotta say, no, there's always drama.
Sometimes it's the bride and groom or a crazy mom or a family member or just a really inebriated wedding guest, right? Every wedding has an Uncle Charlie and an Aunt Mary. Uncle Charlie is always drunk and flirting with the staff. He's annoying. Aunt Mary is usually drunk. She wanted to be a wedding planner. And she spends her entire night telling the people that the bride paid to plan her wedding how to do it. And these are like characters you expect to see at the weddings. But we had the kind of crazy. And they came down. You didn't have to create drama because they came down to shoot a demo. And the Russian bride, her name's Ksenia. She's amazing. We're still friends. She had touched up her platinum hair the day before they came down, right? They went out to dinner. They came home and they went in the pool. And she left her. You know where this is going.
Yeah.
I doubt this has happened to you, Glenn, but this is probably, yeah. She got in the water, but don't worry. She only got into about this deep.
Oh.
Blonde hair down to the bottom of her back. And it was the most incredible shade of mermaid green you have ever seen. I mean, it was green.
I mean, some people pay money for that.
Yeah, not this particular bride in this setting.
No.
So I'm, you know, we've been filming for a couple of days. It's just demo and it's my friend's husband. It shouldn't be scary, but it's very stressful because I've noticed that the guests and everybody else act a little weird when the cameras are going on. It's just a little more stressful. And so, thank God, Yaya, who's a character in my books. She's one of my best friends there. And in my book, she did all the flowers with me because I owned a flower company down there too. Yaya in my books, she comes up to help the lead character open a flower company. She was a hairdresser and she went over with a bucket and some chemicals I've never seen. Ksenia spent all day laying on a pool lounge with the back part of her hair, right? The affected section hanging in a bucket. Every couple hours I would check in. How's it going? Yaya's like, still green. She's like, but Sandy, I could do a roll under and no one would see the green. But Ksenia had been growing her hair for 2 years and she was determined the hair was going to be down and blonde. So we're a couple hours out at this point and it's kind of like, we got to figure something out. And I have a camera crew following me and Yaya is like, Sandy, I might be able to fix it, but all her hair might break off tomorrow. I said, did you tell her that? She said, yep. I said, what did she say? She's like, she said, try it. Do it. Yeah. And I said, you get her to say that on camera.
That's good. That's a good plan.
Nobody's got time to write the legal document.
That's true.
I walked her. We filmed it. Ksenia, you understand there could be hair damage. You understand there could be immediate hair damage. Like you might get up from this bucket with a bob. Anyway, it worked. It probably wasn't the shade of blonde that she expected her hair to be at her wedding. Photographers worked with us. The pictures were beautiful. She's incredible. She's divorced now. Anyway, so, but the crazy was so obvious in what we did down on this island, 7 miles off the coast from another island where everything has to take 2 boats or 2 planes to get there. The crazy was so obvious that we had 3 networks offering us deals 2 months later. And they filmed that demo in June. And we were filming the show with our real clients by November. I do not recommend doing that. But we only did 1 season because they're real clients and production doesn't really work with a real business. I would never plan weddings with real clients again because I'm never going to fight with a producer because they do not like the fact that it's an all white wedding and they want color and the bride paid me for all white. I will wrestle you. I'm kidding, but I mean, no, I was paid. I'm the wedding planner. Usually I have to argue with the mother of the bride, not the producer. So it was fun, but not fun. And we went back to just planning weddings, which was much more fun. And then Hurricane Maria wiped out our entire company in one night. Boom.
Oh,
Yep. And we weren't down there, thank God, because I had stopped planning weddings in September for my mental health. Having hysterical brides glued to the Weather Channel during hurricane season, calling you in a panic constantly, like every time there is an invest showing up somewhere in the weather. Like, no. So when the company got successful, we said, we're not going to do September weddings. We got married in September. We know how stressful it is. Not going to do that. So we spent September up at our condo in the DC area every year because we have 6 grandchildren up there. Great time to see everybody and enjoy central air conditioning. And yeah, it's September in the Caribbean. Ugh. Anyway, so we were up north. Hurricane Irma hit, and they hadn't gotten power back yet when Hurricane Maria hit. And we ended up helping to coordinate evacuation efforts from stateside because we had the connections and we knew how to do it. And we worked with everything. For example, the people that founded Subway Sub Shops had a home on the island. They, funded some of the private jets we used to bring out medically precarious people. I literally, true story, got a phone call via Facebook Messenger one night at 2:30 in the morning. Random woman on a mountain on Vieques in labor.
Did you put her on hold? Like,
believe it? No, believe it. No, I
was going to ask the same thing.
Well, I stayed in contact with her, but we were able to call the Red Cross, and it was so funny. I had made a contact with a volunteer who was running the phone calls for one of the top people, and I called her. I said, I don't know what to do. And before you know it, we had helicopters heading over to get this girl to evacuate her. But it was crazy, and we weren't there. We did not go back for almost a year because the island didn't get power back for 17 months.
Wow.
So I cried with every bride. I had 2 years of weddings I had to cancel because I told all the girls, I will not confirm your date. I will refund. I will do this. I will do that. I will cancel your vendors. I will do these things. But until we have power back, I can't get insurance. Oh, and the island hospital was flattened. They just reopened the new one this year. That was 2017.
Wow.
Right. So I wasn't going to get any good insurance to cover my company when there's no power, then went to unreliable power. And there's no emergency medical care on the island except a medevac. And so we started over, and it was bizarre. It was one of those, what am I going to do now? Do I want to open a wedding company? Thank God I didn't, because 2020 rolled around very soon, and I would have had to cancel all those weddings again. Nobody should do that twice. So I was really glad. I said, I'm going to go back to writing full time. And lo and behold, an ad popped up. They were looking for an editor to run Blue Lives Matter and the Police Tribune. At the time, it was the nation's largest law enforcement publication. Mm-hmm. And they had just gone from being kind of a gossip rag in the beginning to reporting real news. We were whitelisted. We had rank. We were doing great. And I went to work for them full time. I eventually became editor-in-chief. And I ran the publication until the parent company was sold. And the parent to somebody who had no interest in law enforcement. And so they didn't want to keep the publication. But I did manage to connect them up with Law Enforcement Today. So at least all of the followers, all of that community crisscrossed over to Law Enforcement Today, which is run by Kyle Reyes, who's a really great guy. So, but I had to make a decision at that point. Did I want to go write for Law Enforcement Today? And I love Kyle, but I don't think he can afford me. And I what do I want to do? And I have always wanted to write fiction my whole life. I wrote nonfiction. I wrote a do-it-yourself wedding planning book that was traditionally published 10 years ago. And I still get royalty checks enough to cover Starbucks every once in a while. But I also, after that, I got a bunch of ghostwriting gigs for other reality TV stars. I even did a Real Housewife. But, that was a lot of fun. But again, I could never write what I wanted to write because I had this stack of, I owe people. I got to write this. I have a deadline. They're paying me. We moved to Jekyll Island. The publication was going to be shut down. It was time to make a decision. And I said, I'm going to write. And I sat down and started writing. And 2 weeks later, I stood up with 2 books and I was ready to go. You know, I mean, yes, I had to edit them from there, but the stories were in me and they were flowing. And my story is about a young wedding planner who loses her job in the Caribbean. So she comes home to Jekyll Island to start over. And she thinks she's going to sit on the couch and eat ice cream and tweak her resume and lick her wounds. And her aunt who raised her comes in and is like, get off your butt. There's no wedding planner here. So she goes out and she starts her own company and she starts reconnecting with kids that she grew up with, one of whom is now a smoking hot state trooper. And everything is going great. And she picks up some big clients and then weird things start happening. Flower shipments don't arrive. Florists won't work with her. She can't figure out what's going on. Turns out there's a really nasty grudge. This woman, she didn't know this woman had a problem with her 10 years ago. And this lady's just been getting more mad for 10 years. And so it becomes a can Mitch, the hot state trooper, save the day kind of thing. Now, I don't want to be a spoiler, but there's 4 more books. So she does survive the first one. But over the course of the series, first off, it's rom-com. It is true there's romance because she's a wedding planner. But it's rom-com. These stories are like, oh my God. I get so many messages like, did that really happen? Yeah. One of the brides was so awful. I made her 4 different characters in the book because nobody would have believed it was the same bride. No, I am serious. And the crazy thing is, you know, have you ever dealt with a bridezilla?
I have not, no.
Well, I mean, you might have daughters, nieces, you know, okay, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I guess that's true, maybe.
All right. I describe the typical, not the worst bridezilla, but the typical kind of bridezilla. She thinks that when somebody put a ring on her finger, the world, everything stopped. Okay. And now she stands still and the world goes around her. And that's how she feels till she gets married. Unless one of her other friends disabuses her of it. But that is what you deal with these brides. It's just some crazy you cannot believe. And we put out fires left and right. We triage things. You know, we dealt with the best of the best and the worst of the worst. And I have a whole bunch of really amazing friends from it, like brides that I'm still friends with. I mean, I've outlasted some of the husbands, but it's true. But it was so crazy and so much fun to write about. And so what I included, what I love is that the Blue Line family, being a cop wife, being a first responder's wife. And I think this applies to cops, firefighters, and maybe military when they're deployed, you know, and that is you wonder all the time, is he safe? What's happening? And you know what? Once upon a time, they'd be like, go be a firefighter. It's safer than being a cop. Are you kidding? I watched them cut the fire hoses in Baltimore during the Freddie Gray riots. And heck, half the cities have the fire teams wearing Kevlar now.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So
I've been
now you
shot
gotta
at, stabbed, bit. Yeah.
See, now the only safe thing is the Coast Guard.
For now.
I'm not sure about that. Well, they have better air support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I write in what it's like. And I don't want to give too much of the books away, but there's so much to being a cop wife that it's head stuff because you're dealing with what's going on every day. And meanwhile, Mitch, when she meets him, her love interest, he is a rookie. And he's a rookie who was involved in a shooting. He didn't do the shooting, but he got kind of thrown in right away. So he's going through that. But each one of the books has like a mystery, sort of cozy mystery element. Although some of my books get a little more, I have way too much like law enforcement subject matter expertise. So books 3 and 4 get a little darker in the crime stuff, but they all have mystery, crime, suspense, and so many laughs. I laughed till I cried while I was writing them. You can't make it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life is funnier than you can, fiction.
So
and you have like endless amount of fuel for like ideas and stuff.
Exactly.
Too, so.
When I can't think of something, I call one of the girls who used to work for me. And they give me like 10 stories. Don't you remember when this happened? And what about Gabrielle? And oh my God, do you remember Heather? I mean, yeah, sure do. We joke about like with this huge box of beer koozies because at one point we were like, oh, we'll keep one from every wedding we plan because they always put beer koozies in their beach welcome bags, and you'd keep a copy of the tote bags because they're little custom tote bags for every. When we were moving back, our big joke was hated them, keep it, hated them, keep it. Like I don't want to remember this woman.
Burn it.
Yeah, seriously, I'm not kidding. Like there are people where they would leave the island and you knew how we felt because my husband would either say, okay, we wouldn't drink while people were on the island. My insurance wouldn't cover if our staff was drunk and something happened. And if you called 911 on Vieques, there were no street signs for most places. So to call 911 on Vieques meant they called their wedding planner and I called 911 and tried to explain where they were. True story. So the interns and the staff, I couldn't really make staff do it, but interns, one of the policies, no drinking while clients were on the island. I do not care how much you drink when they're gone. But when we're in the middle of a wedding weekend, because more than once I'd call the intern and be like, you guys got to meet us wherever, bring your phone. And the reason is when weird happened in the middle of the night, we filmed it, not to share, not to post, to cover our butts. Because people behave absolutely in the most absurd manner when they're inebriated. And I mean, body cams on cops are the best things that ever happened to law enforcement because now all of America knows how badly behaved everybody else is. We needed the same sort of thing. But it was such a crazy, wild experience. But I will tell you, I was getting a little burned out by the time we left. And, we didn't make the choice, but they say, and I'm not super religious, but they say God shuts the door and opens a window. And I really lucked out going into that writing position and coming up right side up. And I think the stories I'm telling are not autobiographical, but they're just so real. They really are the true things we live through. And when I got married, a friend of mine's mom said, you've got to buy Diary of a Mad Bride and read it.
Diary of the Mad Bride.
It is so funny, Jen. Oh my God, totally. I mean, I sat and read it. And I remember I was laughing so hard on the beach. This is true. My husband is not a big book reader. He's more of a magazine. We get Guns and Ammo, SWAT, all the good magazines, right? And I laughed so hard that he read the book after I did. And he didn't laugh as hard as I did because he's not a bride, so he didn't quite get it. But I was dying with her checklist of what's accomplished, what's not accomplished. It's just the insanity of a bride's brain. And I hope that my readers laugh as hard at my books as I did when I read that book years ago. It just gives you perspective. And I highly recommend it for parents ready to kill their own children who are engaged.
Well, my kids are not at that age yet.
Well, when the time comes, you message me and I'll send you a signed copy.
I think I might get one just now and keep it.
Just get mentally prepared. The parents who say to their kid, if you elope, I'll give you 20 grand for a house. Those are parents who probably planned weddings.
I have to admit, I planned my own wedding.
Did you? Did you have fun with it?
I was happy to have it over.
Ha! That's what I said.
Yeah. It felt like a lot of stress and frustration and...
Well, and you can't be going down the aisle and telling the groom and groomsmen where to be at the same time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get down there, my husband's standing on the wrong side. And I'm just I'm like, switch. And he's like, no, I'm fine here. I'm like, okay, fine. We'll stand on the wrong side.
Yeah, okay, so this is going to be backwards for everything we planned, but sure, honey. Great. Yeah, and for the rest of my life, I'm going to have to explain to people or have the photographer flip the pictures.
Yeah, it was my cousin or my sister-in-law with her camera.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was one of those really small ones. But what I found, and I can't even imagine the stress you went through, but I remember calling around to places and saying, we need, because it was a very small wedding. It was only 20 people. We need to have a place for 20 people to eat. Oh yeah, it's like $20 or $25 a plate. Oh, great. Can we bring in our wedding cake? Oh, it's a wedding party. Oh, it's $65 a plate. I'm like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm. And I dealt with the reverse because I had my clients were, I was their advocate, but I also am dealing with this little bitty island that has limited resources. I can't let clients destroy a villa and just think, well, the insurance will cover it, because I need the villa again in 2 weeks. I need it fixed. And I can't afford to have an owner tell me I can't use a villa. Like one of my very favorite villas, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was called Casa Jacaranda. It was literally House of the Roasted Pig. Okay. That was the name. And it was this really cool house built into the hillside. And it's owned by, I don't know if you've ever had jams or sauces from Stonewall Kitchen. They're like all those gorgeous jellies. And anyway, they're based in Maine, and you see them in like gourmet stores all the time. Anyway, the guy who owned the hotel that was my friend, he called them the Jelly Boys, because this Stonewall Kitchen guys owned this house. And I made a deal with them that, to use it for weddings, but it only had 1 bedroom, but it had this massive deck. And I don't want everybody to stay over. I just need the party. And we did a couple events there, and they were spectacular. And suddenly I go to book an event and they say no. And I said, what happened? They're like, well, we rented it out for Pepsi to film a commercial, and they did a bunch of damage. So now we're not renting it to events anymore. And I'm like, but we never broke anything.
Wasn't our fault.
Yeah, he's like, well, our insurance dropped dramatically when we stopped renting it for events, so we're not going to do it. But screw you, Pepsi. Sorry. But I was mad. There's not that many, and you couldn't let people do things that you couldn't use the venue again, because I mean it's a legit problem.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just picturing like, what did Pepsi do? Like spill sticky stuff all over the floor?
Well, okay, this is so tasteless, but the island jokes were like, okay, who'd they set on fire? Because didn't Michael Jackson catch fire during a Pepsi commercial? So the island joke was that, yeah, he did his hair carpet.
Yeah, that's right.
Jen's too young. Glenn remembers. Michael Jackson.
Oh no, I remember it. It just took
Pepsi commercial, yeah. And so we did lots of jokes about maybe somebody had caught fire and scorched the wall, I'm sorry. Wedding planners were snarky, and we wore headsets for a reason. My husband made us get radios the first year. And if you've never used radios, which I hadn't because normal people don't, it's a little daunting. But we got used to them, and they were amazing. They were amazing because no longer did I have to use hand signals. Send me the bride, right? I didn't have to use hand signals anymore, but even better, I could make fun of people.
Yes.
Like
from across the room, it's like,
oh my God. Like, and like, can somebody please go tell the moron in the second row not to hold their iPad over their head? Yeah, there's a real photographer here. Things like that. It's nice to have it. And when you catch people doing horrible things, you can whisper to each other about it. There's a scene, I think it's in book 1. It's in book 1. And this is something that actually happened, but obviously not to my main character's aunt. And that is, somebody was upstairs on the balcony of the master bedroom in this villa we were using, because we had hidey spots where it was dark and the wedding guests couldn't see us, but we could see them. Well, if we're needed, we'll go down there. But once dinner is served and they are drunk and dancing and everybody's drunk and everybody's happy, I don't want to hang out with them until I'm saying bye-bye. And anyway, if you hang out up on that balcony, nobody knows you're there. But if you're going to come up and have illicit sex in your bridesmaid's dress with a groomsman while your husband and his wife are on the pool deck dancing with your children, you shouldn't tuck your bridesmaid's dress into your thong when you go back down the stairs afterwards.
Front or back?
Back.
Okay.
Back. And she was following him down the stairs. And the staff member of ours who was trapped on the balcony got a picture from, I mean, it's not perfect because she was outside and obviously, but you can see this woman with her bridesmaid's dress tucked into her thong. She's walking down the stairs behind a guy and she has her hand on his shoulder. And I don't remember what went down with that afterwards. There was not a fist fight that I remember. So obviously somebody said, you have your dress tucked into your thong, you slut, and she fixed it. But I didn't say that, sorry. But you know, we were just the staff member who's up on the back is like, oh my God, you guys. And we were getting a blow by blow.
Pardon the pun.
We don't watch and tell. It was, I mean, people act like destination weddings, people act like there's no consequences and no accountability. So they get really, really drunk. And then you drink on the beach all day and you don't drink any water and you're dehydrated. And so you drink more alcohol because you're thirsty. And then they do this behavior where they don't think there's any consequences because they're in the Caribbean. It's not like they're at a country club where they're not going to be able to come back.
They still have rules and laws.
Yeah, they do. But it's a tricky situation. And we had to call the police a few times over the years. But it's tricky because the minute that happens, your review just went to hell.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more 5-star wedding review. I mean, I hated it when we had to cut somebody off at the bar. I mean, sometimes you legit had to.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, I had, and then after the TV show, guests got a lot more aggressive because I was edited to look kind of, I don't know, loudmouthy. And not to say that I never am, but a lot of what you're hearing on the show is actually not something everybody could hear. I was mic'd. You know, you're hearing me talk to my staff over the headset. You're here, like, there's a scene where it's edited. It looks like I'm yelling at everybody to do something. And I'm not. I'm talking into my microphone. And I'm on the other side, you know? So you just have to kind of be more low key. And we tried really hard. We had to add security after we did the TV show. We used to have a rule. If you had 50 guests or more, we had to have security for the night events. And after the TV show, after a few more weddings, after it aired, we ended up having security at every wedding. I got picked up by these guys and thrown in the pool one night wearing my radios and holding on to a $2,000 cordless microphone.
Oh, why did they throw you in the pool?
Because they were drunk and it seemed like a good idea to them. Wasn't it funny?
Yeah. I've seen lots of drunk people, but I must admit I have never been drunk.
I say that that's the better position to be.
Yeah, just laugh at everybody else when they're doing this stuff, but not be involved in it.
Well, I'm not going to pretend that I've never been foolish and inebriated in my life. I got it out of my system in my teens and 20s, but I just, the way people behave at other people's weddings, sometimes it's pretty atrocious. And if the bride and groom aren't more wasted than the guests doing it, they're going to remember.
You brought it back.
I'm so glad I only had 20 people at my wedding.
I wish I had.
Last summer we just did my oldest daughters, and you brought back some memories there. So I can't air them out. Mrs. Sportcat would kill me, but
maybe you should give her mother the books. PTSD treatment.
Sort of secretly gift them as a hint, hint, wink, wink.
Well, I will just say this. It was in the summer in the Smoky Mountains, July, under a wooden, like, I don't know, it's like a park thing where it's just basically stone pillars and a roof.
Was it 100 degrees or 110?
About 110 with the humidity in the south. And some people decided they were a little too anxious. And of course, me being me, there was plenty of paramedics and EMTs there. And some people got really relaxed and ended up having to go sit in vehicles and get air conditioned till, let's just say, they could see straight. But there was no alcohol. So I'll just leave it at that.
You know, my grandson is getting married this summer and they are having a dry wedding. And I don't really care. I'm not a big drinker. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. But as a wedding planner, but destination weddings are different. You know, people have flown thousands of miles, and we had a couple dry weddings. And those were probably the most verbal abuse that I took during wedding weekends. Yeah, because you're having a beach party and you're on a beach that's kind of remote, and they find out that all you have is soda and water. Grumpy guests, and it's a problem. And our grandchildren have just graduated from college. It's their choice. That's great. And but I was like, wow, like, I'm glad I'm not in charge. I mean, we used to just wow, when we were in the Caribbean, people would get aggressive. So
well, they think they're on a vacation as well, right? It's like, wow, we're going somewhere else. It just happens to be for this wedding, but we're on vacation.
we had a couple that got so out of control over the years where, you know, we really did have to call the police. And my husband would explain, do you understand that we do not have a courthouse on this island? You will be handcuffed. You will be taken to this little cell, and it is the responsibility of the Puerto Rican cop to feed you if he wants to. Most you're going to get is he picks up one of those like loaves of bread from the gas station. They're called panda aguas. And you might get butter, but probably not. And he might give you that. Then on Monday morning, because you got to sit there till Monday, on Monday morning, they are going to put you in leg shackles, and they're going to lead you onto the ferry in front of everybody. And you get transported to Fajardo, where you'll spend an entire day waiting to be arraigned. If you are lucky enough to be released, you will not have any of your belongings or any money or anything with you when they release you on another island. Like, you do not want to be arrested on Vieques when you came for a wedding weekend. You do not want to do this. And I would have let people get arrested. If you make it to the point where we have to explain that to you, if you push it further, we're bye. No, we're not coming to get you. It was not in the contract. The only time we ever actively prevented a couple from getting married, or from getting arrested, was when a bride and groom were beating the heck out of each other on their wedding night. And the general manager of Inn on the Blue Horizon called me and said, do I call you or the police? They are naked and fighting on their front porch, and I'm watching it on the cameras.
Oh my God.
Before or after they said their vows?
After. It was not, this was the
That'd be
bride
fun.
this is the bride I broke up into 4 different characters.
Explain.
And
some
she
things.
sent me flowers after the books came out. Did not recognize herself. Honey, how many brides do you think called me at midnight to ask me to drive across an island to put aloe on their shoulders? Only you.
Is that part of your job? I had no idea.
When you are a wedding planner and they have paid you thousands of dollars and put all their life's dreams, and especially the younger girls, this particular one was in her 40s, so she has no excuse, but they have all these hopes and dreams. In this case, this woman just had no friends. I'm like, well, can't a bridesmaid do it?
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, you see so much into the people's lives the week of their wedding. I mean, my God, you couldn't see more if they were walking around in their panties all week. You just see what kind of ugly goes on in their family and in their life. And most of them have happy weddings. Most of the things are great. Sometimes, as I was saying before, my husband would say, have a safe trip. Next time we'll have a drink together. And then there are some he would say, have a safe trip. Don't come back.
Oh my gosh. Sandy, I can only keep you for an hour, and we're pushing the time here. I want everybody, especially our Australian audience, to know how to get your stuff. And you're going to have to come back because we didn't get to the paranormal yet. And I have a sense that
it's a really good story.
It's going to be epic.
It is. It's a really good story. You can find my books at sandymalone.com or Amazon, bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, all the usual places. And you can ask at your local bookstores, and they may get them in for you. The first book, it's the Gem of the Golden Isles series. The first book is Escape to Jekyll Island. You can read them out of order, but I recommend reading them in order. But I have a preference here. I think they're hysterical and highly recommend for anybody that has the pleasure of being part of a wedding anytime in the near future. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Sandy and Malone. And I think it's also at Sandy and Malone on TikTok. And on Facebook, it's Sandy WIV, or it's Sandy Malone WIV, sorry, which stands for Weddings in Vieques. That one goes back a few years.
All right. Yes, we're gonna have you back because I want to.
Oh yeah.
You have lit us on fire tonight. You are awesome. Thank you for you were short notice. You were short notice, and I really appreciate that you and Mickey bailing me out.
Anytime.
Well, hey, don't say that. That's how
I mean it. Well, I mean it. We can bring my husband on, and he can tell you all about the trauma he suffered when I turned his gun bag into a bridal emergency bag.
Yes,
or when the producers from the TV show asked him and the Puerto Rican cops. I mean, we do know what the crime record is, there, right? Asked him, do y'all have to be armed? That's why they're here. Anyway, so we play a game. If you get to watch Wedding Island from TLC, still streams a bunch of places. We play a game, Look for the Guns, on our setup and teardown crews. Just look for the guns on our staff. Everybody's armed.
Oh, yeah, I did. I was a flight paramedic, and I don't remember what island it was, but we're going to come out of the ER, and this guy stops us with a shotgun pointing at us, and he says, "You owe the hospital like $10,000." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know hospital shit. You can have her." We had to get to the State Department, and oh yeah, it was a big mess. So yeah,
I stole the governor of Puerto Rico's helicopter to medevac a mother of the bride once.
Oh God, I bet they're touchy about that.
Well, I was friends with a cop who was flying it, so he did it, and he got back before the governor got back to the airport. It's on the TV show. It's actually pretty funny, totally real.
Oh my God. Yes, you're coming back, Sandy. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Have a great night. And
you too. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
We'll be in touch. We may just do a whole Sandy and Jen and Glenn.
Oh yeah, this would be awesome.
You know, you could come to Jekyll Island, and we could, it's historic, all kinds of cool places. Fox and Friends is doing. Well, there you go. Fox and Friends is doing a morning show at our local tiki bar tomorrow.
Oh well. Right now I'm out of state taking care of Mom. But
my husband still owes me a honeymoon, so
we have a guest house in the backyard. It's lovely, and you're welcome to come to. Where in Georgia are you?
I'm actually in
Atlanta. I am. Yeah, she's up
I'm
way
in
up
southern Alberta.
Oh my, burr.
Not today. It was like 30 plus degrees. 30.
Oh wait,
Celsius.
Are we talking in Celsius? Okay. I'm like, oh, because we joke. We went to Nova Scotia on vacation once, and we said, wow, they have summer from July 15th to July 19th.
Yep.
That's about right. Yeah.
There were people swimming.
Yeah. My son moved to Vermont.
When you're shoveling your driveway.
Yep. Yeah. My son moved to Vermont from the south thinking, oh, it'll be fun to have a little snow. Yeah. 2 years in, he's like, I've seen enough snow, Dad, to last a lifetime.
Has he moved back yet?
Not yet.
Yes. I've seen enough snow that, I gave up on walking. One time I opened the door and it's like up to my waist. You can see the imprint of my front door. And I'm like, I'm not going to school today.
Now, I always saw, you see videos of that. And I grew up in DC. We had snow, but not like that.
Me too. Yeah, I grew up Mount Vernon. So,
I grew up in Potomac. And I mean, I remember some big old blizzards in the 70s and 80s, but never the whole front door.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't the whole. I know other places more out east. They get a lot of that, the lake effect snow and stuff. But I mean, I've only seen it up waist high.
Well, I have decided, and we discovered this in Nova Scotia, probably applies to where your son lives as well in Vermont. You said, yeah. Whenever you see a house whose firewood pile is as big as or bigger than the house, you should only vacation there. Yeah. We had sheds. We built buildings to hold it all. Really? You had is that what a wood shed is? People actually have a whole wood shed?
Oh yeah. It's like a small, it's bigger than a shed, but it looks like a little small house.
Wow.
Oh, that's solid advice, because I think the whole side of his garage, there's no car there. I think it's all firewood.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
All right, Sandy, I got to get out of here. The radio station's going to be mad at me for keeping you over. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
We'll get in touch, and we'll get you on real soon. So thank you so much. Have a great night. All right. Bye-bye. She was truly amazing. So
yes. My face hurts from laughing and smiling so much.
I'm crying at some of her stories.
I know, me too. I was just like,
as a paramedic, I'm sitting here going, "Yep, heard that."
So, well, I mean, I didn't work out in the field, but like some of the things I'm seeing coming in, I was like, that explains a lot.
That's right. I forgot about that. So everybody, WRFN, WZQR, and especially our dear friends in Dare Talk Radio down in Australia, thank you for tuning in and allowing us to be a part of your evening if you're here on the East Coast, or if you're down under a part of your day. Next week, we will be back We have Chris Hemling is an author, and Eric Fisher. So we got 2 more authors coming up next week. So look for that. And then Monday, Brenda and I will be back with the Sportcat Daily Gazette, where we're gonna just talk about BS stuff. So
I love it.
You got anywhere you're gonna be, Jen, or anything you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I have book signing this weekend in Calgary area. If you wanted to check it out, or if you're in the area, my website, www.jmshawauthor.com. You can see all my books. You can see the links to them online. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, or even see there's a Goodreads link so you can see what other people are saying about my books.
Awesome. Everybody go check her out. Tell them Sportcat sent you. We got to get out of here. We're running out of time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever it is in your part of the world. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
We have a 138 o'clock.